Hello, and welcome to Rock Your Block. We have a great show for you today. Our guest is someone that I go back about 25, almost 30 years ago. We've known each other a very long time, but we lost contact with each other about 10 years ago. Since then, we have reconnected, and I've just been so excited about the many different things that she's done in her life. She worked in corporate America for many, many years, over 28 years. She also became a successful realtor, and that was something really new and different for her. And just recently, I've learned that she is now in the jewelry business. So please join me in welcoming Sharon Lynn. Hi, Sharon.
Tia, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Listen,
good.
I'm so glad that we reconnected after all of those years.
I am too, and actually we've known each other 32 years.
I should have known that you would have the exact number.
Sorry. Yeah.
32 years, that's a
Yeah.
long time.
It is.
So
it is.
I'm just really grateful for the connection again.
Yeah, and you've done some really interesting things with your life as well.
Yes, I have,
Yeah,
I have.
yeah.
And so, well, today we're going to be talking about Lynn's unique jewelry creations.
Yes.
Sharon, please tell me, how in the world did you end up with a hobby as jewelry? I know you've always loved jewelry,
Yeah.
but to get in a position of making it.
Well, as you said, I worked in corporate life for many, many years, and when I decided to retire, that is, no longer work 9 to 5, 60 hours a week, I wanted to do something that was just what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't, restricted by time or anything. And so I happened to be in a mall and saw a beading store, and they said they gave classes. So I went in and took a couple of classes, and that's really how I started out, and that's 6 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember years ago that you've always been creative. I mean, you could go in and change the walls and the wallpaper, and you could see, and she could see an outfit and go home and just cut the pattern out and make it. So I guess this is not that far off, because it is it is an art form.
Yeah, there's a creative process to it. I don't see myself as an artist per se, although many people who have seen some of my pieces would describe me that way. But I have a lot of sources, such as publications and the internet, where you can see pieces of jewelry, and then you add your own unique creative touch to it by deciding what do you want to make it out of? Do you want to make it out of pearls or gemstones? Do you want to make it out of, copper or silver? So, I get my ideas or inspirations outside of myself, and then within I decide what direction to take it.
Oh, that's exciting. Now, I know you brought your wonderful husband.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to see Sandy. Sandy is actually in the studio. He's in the control room today. And you can just tell me the truth. Does Sandy help you? How involved does Sandy get?
Well, my husband is and has always been my greatest fan, my biggest cheerleader, and so I always get very positive feedback and words of encouragement from him. But to actually string a necklace, no, it hasn't gone that far yet. But I do get a lot of requests from him to make pieces for him, which I do and do gladly.
Right. So Sharon, this has started out as a hobby for you, and then now you're talking a little bit about making pieces and maybe forming it into a business. Talk a little bit about that process, how you went from one.
Well, just like people see, especially women, they'll see something you're wearing, they'll say, "Oh, I like your necklace," and I'll say, "Well, thank you, I made that," and they'll say, "Oh, really? Can you make me one?" So it kind of, it evolved from, yeah, I can make that for you. How would you like it? How long would you like it? Here's what it'll cost you. Because it's kind of an expensive hobby if you use, high quality materials. So it started out that way, and then people, you kind of develop a network, and there would be craft fairs, and people would say, well, why don't you display your work at a craft fair? And so I started selling work that way. Now, I don't think of it really in terms of a business, but I have been doing some research about opening a virtual store as opposed to a physical store. A virtual store would be on the internet, through a website. So that's kind of what I'm researching, and there's some learning behind that, particularly the photography aspect, because it is
very
pictures of your jewelry that sell it.
Right, that's very important.
Yeah, I need to take a class in photography. But that's kind of my thinking as far as a small business.
Well, you know, some folks have said that you'll have a hobby and, you know, it'll just chill you out. You can come home from a hard day's work and get into your hobby. But then what happens when you take it from a hobby to a business? Does it have the same feel, or I mean, is it still a passion, or does it become, oh, you know,
it becomes work, in my opinion, and that's one of the things that has made me somewhat reluctant about marketing myself as an established jewelry maker, because you have a commitment then to your clients, to your customers. You know, you're on a time schedule if you've committed to deliver a piece within a certain period of time. So it goes more from, oh, this is what I want to fool with Saturday morning, and it turns into work, and it has certain responsibilities that come with it.
Right, especially in this area where service is a premium.
Yes.
Everybody wants it,
yes.
like yesterday.
Yes.
All that in. Well, Sharon, do you make jewelry? Is it exclusively for women, or do you add the guys in there? Because men, you know, back when I was younger, men didn't talk too much about jewelry, but now, I mean, you know, they are just as much into jewelry as we are.
Well, interestingly enough, I've never had an order placed by a man for jewelry for himself or for anyone else. My orders generally come from women, you know, something for themselves, a birthday gift from mother or sister or best friend. However, I do have some items that I made for my husband, 4 items that are behind us. And I can tell you a little bit about those 4 items. There's a copper rope, and that's a chainmail weave. There's a couple of bracelets, and those bracelets are interesting because the one that is all copper is his bracelet, and the one that is copper and silver is my bracelet. And my son also has one of those. Yeah. And then there's just some regular glass bead, couple of glass bead necklaces. So those are 4 items that I made specifically, you know, with a masculine touch to them.
Well, Sharon, we've got a few more minutes before we have to take a break, but I would like for you to tell the viewers how they can get in contact with you. They need to.
Well, as we've already established, it's not a full-fledged business, but I do have an email address, and it's lynsuniquejewelry@comcast.net. I'm also available through my cell phone, which is 240-678-4706.
Now, Sharon, earlier you talked a little bit about the creative process. And when I think of jewelry making, I think of tons and tons of tools and all kinds of equipment, and I don't know if that's the right thinking or not. So can you start talking a little bit about the creative process? We may have to end for a station break, but we'll pick right back up.
And there are specific tools depending on what you're making. You need pliers, and I can talk a little bit more
regular
about
pliers?
that. There are specific jewelry pliers.
I got a bunch of pliers at home in my.
And these pliers are specifically designed for shaping wire. There are cutters, several different types of cutters, because you can have some wire that is, you know, 16 gauges, and some wire that's 20 gauge, and the gauge describes the thickness of the wire.
And when you say cutters, are you talking about something that you can just?
No, they look like pliers, except you know the end.
Those are cutters. Okay.
Think in terms of those hedge trimmers.
Oh,
kind of like
clip,
that.
clip, clip.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of them are quite heavy, because you can have some pretty heavy wire, which you know I'll show you a little bit of that in a bit.
Interesting.
And then of course the materials that you make your jewelry out of, gemstones and metal. You know, diamonds and gold.
Oh, we're dealing with diamonds and gold? What about silver and platinum? And
again, I'm a hobbyist, but silver is really my metal of preference. Gemstones, turquoise, aquamarine, amethyst, my birthstone, garnet, your birthstone, sapphires.
Right.
So those are our gemstones. And then there's also stones that are considered semi-precious. They're semi-precious because they're not created from a mineral, like diamonds is a mineral.
Is a mineral, right.
These are created through a biological process, such as pearls. Pearls are a biological result of oysters.
Right.
It's from oysters. And coral. Coral is a biological process. It comes out of the sea. So those are considered semi-precious gemstones and can be very expensive. They can be as expensive as a precious stone.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned earlier.
Pearls particularly, you know, pearls
yeah,
are
I know
very
they are.
expensive.
They can be really expensive. You mentioned earlier about the training that you had. So, and I'm listening to you. I mean, you sound expert to me. You learned all this from a couple of classes, or can you talk a little bit about those classes, what they were like?
Most of what I learned, for example, semi-precious versus precious gemstones, all of that I learned through reading and researching.
Wow.
You know, I wanted to know, what is this I'm playing with here? What is this I'm doing? The classes that I took basically were basic classes about stringing. In other words, sliding one bead after another onto a wire or some type of medium.
And when you say string,
Stringing,
is this just regular string, or it's a particular type of string?
There's different types of materials that you can use, but the process, regardless of the material, the process is stringing. You're stringing beads on a wire, fastening them together, putting some type of closure on them.
When you do that, are you looking at a pattern, or are you just going from in your head?
I lay out the sequence of that the beads are going to flow in, and then I string them on the wire following the pattern that I've laid out on a board.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you say pattern, is this your pattern, or is
Oh,
this
yeah,
a pattern?
it's my pattern.
It is your
yeah,
pattern.
It's like, okay, do I want to put, you know, a pearl here and a pearl here and a amethyst in the center, or do I want to make it all amethyst? So yeah, it's how I decide to string them. That's what makes it uniquely my creation, because I decide what material to use and how to put it together.
Right. Sharon, I know that our guests can hardly wait to see some of your work, and same here, because I've not seen a lot of your work. I've seen a few pieces, but I haven't seen you know, everything that you do. But just a quick question about pricing. Is it very, without having to go into exactly how much, can you give us ranges of prices?
Sure. I mean, I have made earrings that I've sold for $5 and earrings that I've sold for $50. It depends on the material, how intricate the design is, how much, you know, time that I've invested in it, how much money I've invested in the components that I'm making it with.
Well, we're going to take a short station break. We'll be right back. Thank you. You're watching Rock Your Block.
Yeah, just wanted to call and say it's riveting. You know, it's exciting television, even though the set falls down sometimes.
The most stimulating and rewarding television viewing I do. Been watching it for years and made a huge difference in my life.
The program was excellent. This is the second time I've seen it. I would love to get the tape.
He's great. I'd like to see him do more. Please encourage him.
And I just wanted to say how wonderful it is, and it's kind of nice that Fairfax County residents get to see these other cultures and other ethnic diversities.
I found this show very offensive. In fact, it was revolting.
I was astounded watching the show. Simply unbelievable.
I watch this channel from time to time. Great that there are local people doing this kind of thing, and thanks for existing and bringing us this kind of programming.
Do you have something to say about the programs on Channel 10? Call our viewer comment line at 571-749-1100 and press 3 at the main menu. Leave us a message telling us what shows you liked, what you didn't like, or if you need more information.
Hello and welcome back to Rock Your Block. We're interviewing Miss Sharon Lynn today of Lynn's Unique Jewelry Creations. And before the break, we were talking about some of the tools that Sharon uses for her work, as well as materials. This is actually the exciting part. I like this part because we're going to get a chance to view some of Sharon's beautiful jewelry. Sharon, can you just take a little bit to explain some of the tools that you have here?
Well, I only brought a few with me, but this is a wire cutter. You remember I said you think in terms of the hedge trimmer. This is a wire cutter, but it's a lightweight wire cutter. So, for example, the type of wire that this necklace is strung on can be cut with this type of wire cutter.
Wow, tell us a little bit about that. That's a beautiful
that
piece.
necklace is made of amethyst, purple.
Okay. It's beautiful.
It's a gemstone, and it's large pieces with amethyst chips. And it's strung on a wire and then fastened with silver.
That is absolutely gorgeous. I like that.
This instrument here, this tool, is used to make what is called a loop. And it is loops that are used to make closures.
Okay, a loop in the way that we think of a loop?
Yeah, the wire wraps around here. You know, you wrap the wire around there, and it's a loop. It becomes an actual loop. And then these two are used, these are two of my favorite tools because they are used to do some of my favorite work. So when I show you that work, I'll show you these tools.
I'm thinking that maybe you could pull Sandy's tooth with one of these. That looks like pretty good.
and he'd probably let me because he hates the dentist. So since we've started talking about this, let's talk about the next piece that I have here. This piece is made of ceramics. It's glass. These are ceramic beads. And it's made with copper. So it's a ceramic bead strung on copper wire with copper, these are called findings. Copper chain, copper closure, and a little pair of copper earrings. Generally, I make a pair of earrings for every necklace I make because there's always enough material, you know, to make an earring. And you know how many times you've had a necklace and you say, I don't have any earrings to go with this necklace.
Yeah.
So I always try to make a pair of earrings.
And that is ceramic? Can you
that's ceramic.
Pull that over? I just want to touch. May I touch it? If I can. This is, wow.
It's ceramic.
Wow, it is.
Baked glass.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that.
Thank you. The one next to that is, in fact, the same style. If you notice, it is beads that are partially strung and then wire and chain behind it. Only these are glass beads. They're not ceramic, they're just glass beads. And this is, they're a silver gray, and it's strung on gray wire and fastened with a silver chain. Okay. And an antique silver, actually it's called gunmetal.
Gunmetal.
Yeah, gunmetal.
Okay.
The next item is turquoise and silver. And you know, when we were talking about gemstones and how expensive they can be, fortunately, hobbyists can find synthetic or man-made gemstones. Turquoise comes out of caves in the Southwest. This is actually a material called magnesite that has been dyed to look like turquoise.
So that is not
really, it is not really turquoise.
Wow.
But you know, you'd have to know
the
difference to know it. So this is magnesite dyed to look like turquoise.
That's a beautiful piece.
And the last piece at the end is jet, and it's a choker. Those are jet crystals. Crystals mean that they're faceted. You know, like a diamond is faceted.
Right.
Those are jet crystals that are faceted and strung on a wire.
When you talk about chokers, in measuring for a choker, does it have to do with the width of a person's neck, or
actually chokers is a measurement? Now there are about 5 different lengths of jewelry. There's the collar, and the collar of course fits very tight, and they range between 14 and 17 inches. Chokers are between 16 and 18 inches. There's a length called princess, and that's between 17 and 19 inches. Matinee, this would probably be considered a matinee length. These are pearls. And matinee can be 20 to 25. Opera, long,
yes.
26 to 36 inches.
Now you say those are pearls, so what color is that? It looks
lavender.
Iridescent almost.
They're lavender.
Really?
And they're glass pearls. They did not come out of an oyster.
Wow.
Remember,
yeah,
again,
we talked about that
pearls
earlier.
are considered semi-precious, very expensive. This is a glass pearl. It did not come out of an oyster.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then the other 2 items that are back here are really among, it's really work that I'm just starting to get into and really appreciate, and it's chain mail. Now, I don't know if you know about chainmail, but you
I
know,
don't.
the knights of old wore armor made from chainmail.
Oh.
And these two pliers are what you use. This is argentium. And argentium is a sterling silver that has a higher percentage of silver than regular sterling. This can be from 93.5 to 96.5% pure silver, whereas sterling is 92.5% silver, and it's always mixed with a base metal because a pure metal is too soft to really work with.
Well, Sharon, I know that when you're dealing with silver, because I used to have to polish the family silver as a little girl, you got the tarnish factor. So by having it mixed with other, is it alloys, or does that keep the tarnish factor down?
Silver is generally coated
Okay.
or has an anti-tarnish ingredient to it. These pieces, though, the piece at the end, this piece, the piece around my neck, this bracelet, these are all made from argentium. And argentium is much more tarnish resistant. It's a process that was developed in England, and it's much more tarnish resistant than sterling.
That is beautiful.
It's also more expensive, but I mean your end result it's really worth it. And
how long would it take you to make a bracelet of that?
that takes a while because you're making the link, and then you're running a wire through the crystal, and that wire is on a loop made with this tool here, and then ran through and attached to both sides. And so you make these pieces, and then you have to wire them together.
It's amazing. It's a beautiful piece.
And Tia's being very modest, but you could tell us a little bit about this piece.
Well, that's my piece.
This necklace belongs to Tia.
Yeah, that's my piece. I love it.
And the unique thing about this is it has a detachable pendant on it. So in fact, the necklace at the end, the necklace that I'm wearing, and the necklace that is here, they're all the same necklace. They're just made different lengths. And this one has a pendant that is detachable. Another style of jewelry making that I'm also learning is bead weaving. And so I have a couple of bead weaving pieces that I'll show you.
Oh, look at that.
These are sewn. They are sewn with not thread that you would make clothes out of, but a fiber. It's actually called fireline. And so this is called herringbone stitch. And these beads are just literally sewn with this fire line and a thread. And I think it's really interesting because it's very intricate and very delicate.
It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
And then these two bracelets are, this is called a right angle stitch. They're made with crystals. The base is crystals, and then the embellishment, it's called an embellishment. The embellishment is pearls.
Sharon, this one looks like you can almost wear it on both sides.
And I tried it, and I made those for myself, so I have a relatively small wrist, and I wanted them to fit snugly. If you made it slightly looser, so that the pearls don't press too deeply into your skin, then yeah, because this side is crystals. So this side can look as attractive as the outside. I made this one so like if you're wearing gold, this goes with gold jewelry, this one would go with silver.
Your collection is stunning, Sharon. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I think you're going to do well. I think this is probably going to turn into a business for you.
Think?
Yeah, I think it's going to move from hobby.
I would enjoy that. It's always
business.
very gratifying to create something and to have someone like it, to appreciate it, and then to want to pay you for it. It's always very gratifying.
And this is special to me that you're showcasing this on Rock Your Block. Really appreciate it. Can you give the folks, again, a way of how they can get in contact with you?
Sure. It's email me at Lynn, it's L-Y-N-N-S, Lynn's Unique Jewelry Creations at Comcast.net. My cell phone number is 240-678-4706. It is my intention to put at that email, you'll be able to get a link. Once I establish my virtual store, you'll be able to get a link to go to the store.
Oh, super.
And,
That'll be
see
great.
the items and purchase items.
That'll be great.
Yes.
Do you have any more items behind?
Well, the only other
show?
thing that I have is I didn't bring them out, but when this bracelet was designed, it was designed with earrings. You know, with earrings to match.
Wow, that's gorgeous.
Yeah. So I think this has been a great retirement hobby.
I think so too, and it looks like it's something that's fun. Sharon, we have probably less than a minute and a half to go before we close the show. What advice would you give to some of our viewers that might be thinking about a career like this?
I guess the first thing that I would suggest is research it. The internet is just absolutely loaded with information about beading, about jewelry making. That's really going to be your best source. There are also organizations, one of which I'm a co-founder of, that it's beaders and crafters, and you know, we meet monthly and teach. You know, if there's a specialty, we teach it.
Great.
So, and again, that's something that can be found on the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Sharon, I thank you so much. We're just about out of time, and I want to thank you so much. It's been so good to reconnect with you and to have you here. And thank you for watching Rock Your Block. We'll see you soon. Bye.